Hi guys, and welcome back to The Learning Gardener. If you haven't been here before, my name is Pip, and in today's video we are doing a massive garden clear out. I've been in Sydney for a week and this is the first time I've mowed the lawn since I was 2 weeks post C-section and discovered that the lawn was just a little bit too much to do so early in the post-op period, and so I'd left it alone for the subsequent 4 or 5 weeks. And as we got the summer heat, things took off and got a little bit out of control. So now it's time to get back into it. It's time to clear out, particularly the grass, but all of the things that have been neglected for the last few weeks, either because I didn't feel like doing them or because I couldn't do them. There is a ton of stuff that has finished blooming, and I want to give it a second chance to bloom again. Things like statice in the garden, that is often, I find, at least 2 seasons in our garden before it dies back and doesn't come back, but sometimes I've had it last for years and years, so it needs to be cut way back. We've got a ton of things that have gone to seed after spring, like columbines and foxgloves, where we need to try and preserve seeds and spread them through the garden. But the first thing is to get control of the mess of this lawn. The only problem with doing that is that the lawnmower died and I wasn't quite finished, and the grass had been so long that it needed 2 mows really. So I had to finish with the whippersnipper, but we got there in the end. As much as I hate doing the whippersnippering and the edging, it does make such a difference to how the garden looks, and I just love the look of a tightly mown lawn. These are the summer pastel colours of the yarrow or achillea flower, and they are so beautiful. They're a tiny, tiny little daisy looking flower that just come in such a beautiful variety of pastels. And I wish when you dried the flower they actually stayed like this. I'm going to try drying them in silica to keep them looking as cute and beautiful as they are. But they're a stunning cut flower and they're beautiful in the garden, and I just wish I had more seeds of these to have them grow everywhere in the garden. We've been seeing the echinaceas blooming enormously throughout the garden. They've been doing so well, and there's been Christmas beetles and weird other beetles all around the garden. The tromboncino plant has put on massive amounts of growth, absolutely massive fruits. It's just incredible how huge those squash are. And I've also been harvesting a ton of beets and working on some new projects with the beets to try some new recipes along with my little buddies in the garden. We've been harvesting the last of the sugar snap peas. most of which now either have a fungal disease or have been attacked by caterpillars, but there are still some to save. I've started saving seeds from the sweet peas as well, but it's just so nice to get the last of the sweet peas before they're totally burnt out as summer progresses. Once I removed the sweet peas, I thought I really need more climbing space for cucumbers. So I planted a couple of Lebanese cucumbers at the base of the archway, and we'll see how they go climbing up this archway. It's got quite a good little grid pattern, so it should be a nice space to have some climbers temporarily through summer before I go through and put sweet peas back in for the cooler season. I've had a massive delay with getting my seedlings in, both because the weather just decimated most of my seedlings. I had some soil difficulties, and obviously I was also in hospital for a few weeks, so that didn't help either. But it's time to get things cut back, so I'm cutting back the status here in the archways between the arbors, and it just tidies it up. It was just getting all a bit scraggly, and the status was mostly dying back and going to seed and pushing a couple of tiny new blooms. So hopefully with this intense haircut, they will come back and flush beautifully again in the autumn, which is usually when they bloom at their best for me. A lot of my fruit trees, like this cherry tree, have needed TLC for quite some time. A lot of them are sporting some branches from the original base tree on which the cherry tree in this case was grafted onto, so it's time to just finally get around to removing those. The thornless blackberries are coming along and I am getting so pumped. I love blackberries. I've just got to remember to cover them to protect them from the local birds before it's too late, but I want to work on the support system for these blackberries before I do that. But I am so stoked with how many berries I am seeing on this plant as it's producing for the first time. Most of my tomato plants are still really small. I bought this pineapple tomato plant from the hardware store a while ago because my tomato plants weren't doing well, and I planted it and it's got these funny looking leaves. They have a slight goldish tinge to them and it just doesn't produce any flowers. So I thought, that's it, I'm going to get rid of it. I don't think it's like a a fertilizer balance issue. I think there's something weird going on with this plant, even though it otherwise looks quite happy. And as I was cutting it back, I was thinking, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this is a perfectly healthy plant. I can't see anything much wrong with it. And then I got to the base, and the stalk of the plant was rotten on the inside to the point where it actually had a worm on the inside of the stalk. So I'm glad I removed this, and just in case there's some disease that's been introduced into the soil, I've planted some sunflowers now around where this plant was, as sunflowers are apparently good with removing toxins from the soil. But you can see how disgusting the stalk of this tomato plant was. I just popped out to tidy up the tromboncino plant, and yeah, I was just going to suspend a few of the stray vines, and now it's a bigger job. Either the archway rusted out, or it collapsed under the weight of the tromboncino plant, or both. But it's game over for this plant, for this archway. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do. I literally was just out here planting seeds just in here. So I was lucky it didn't actually fall down on me. But now, I don't know what we're going to do, Ralphie. Got some pretty decent, stabby, fruit in there. And there's another one just in there. But given how stabby this plant is, I don't know what we're going to do. This might be a tomorrow problem, Rafi. What do you think, bud? Hey, you think tomorrow's the day? You're a good boy. Oh, that's my good boy. Yes, you are. Oh, attack of the hound. I keep looking at my arbors and wondering when they're going to be covered in plants. So finally I'm starting to see some growth on things like my apple cucumbers, which I'm working on staking up the arbors. And my butternut pumpkins on the other side are starting to put on some growth. So it's time to start supporting these plants a little bit more and helping them climb the arbor. But I am wondering if this season maybe everything just matured too late and got planted out too late, and we're maybe not going to see these other arbors covered in plants. But, you know, fingers crossed, maybe we'll get there still. But for the time being, these plants are still a lot smaller than I'd like them to be in the first month of summer. I've had oddly a lot of trouble with zucchinis this year. I have not been able to get the zucchinis to germinate for the most part, either direct planted or seedling tray planted, and the last lot I planted got stolen by a bandicoot. So this is my one happy zucchini plant. So it's time to trim back the bottom leaves and get it supported on the stake. This is how I've always grown zucchinis, because we get a lot of powdery mildew on particularly our squash plants and also our cucumbers. And it's just the easiest way to get rid of those feral leaves and to keep the pest pressure a little bit lower, and to stop the zucchini from taking over the entire garden bed just because it flopped over. So I just chop off the leaves below the kind of active fruiting and flowering area and support it nicely. These are first year berry plants, and they have produced an insane amount of berries so far. Most of them go straight in my face, I can't lie, or they've gone straight on a pavlova and have not been weighed. But I have at least 2 kilos of blueberries now that have made it into the freezer just from these 3 young plants. It's absolutely insane. Then it was time to get back to this garden bed at the front of the backyard. And I said if this tansy plant turned into Cousin It again this summer, then it was gone. And sure enough, it's turned into Cousin It. And even the ones out the front of the house have turned into Cousin It. So from now on, tansy will only be a plant that I grow in pots. But I'm going to leave the last of the little plant there this summer just in case it blooms, and I will deal with it in winter. But tansy is an amazing plant to have because it's a tick repellent, but it just flops over and it gets absolutely massive and I just can't stand it. So it's time to prune back not only the tansy, not only the statice, not only the foxgloves, but also get in here and spread the foxglove seeds and the columbine seeds. This garden bed needs a lot of work. The foxgloves have had their second year. They're going to be coming out of the ground shortly, and I need to get flowers in here, just probably some annuals to fill up the base. But now I need to work out what perennials I want to put in here so that I'm not having to maintain this garden bed so intensely, and that I can just work on popping a few annuals in here and there to fill it out in our summertime. But for now, it's time to tidy this bed up a bit and give everything a nice deep water because it's been weeks since we've had rain. Most of my foxgloves have already dropped their seeds, but these are first year plants and they still flowered, which surprised me. But some of the stalks still have their seeds on them. So what I decided to do was to try and save as many as I could, both by spreading them through this orchard area so that I would hopefully get some more foxgloves settling in, but also to, just in case, put a whole stack in a little plastic bag to deal with it later. So all I did was cut off the stalk, cut it in half so it would actually fit in the plastic bag, and you'll see how many seeds came off one stalk. It was absolutely crazy. flush of the sugar snap peas have well and truly happened. But it's time to take out these plants. They're totally done, and I'm going to make space for some beans to be planted underneath. I've got my best friend's dog Clancy, the golden lab, staying with us at the moment, which is Rafi's best friend, and both of them happen to absolutely love peas, particularly Clancy. Once he works out which bed the peas are in, he tends to climb into the bed and go looking for peas himself, and he also helped me harvest blueberries and strawberries the other day. So it's really nice to have these puppies in the garden test tasting the produce with me. Birdie's not interested at all in eating her veg, but Clancy is up for any food he can score. Such a typical Labrador. I really need to do a tip run to get rid of a lot of this seedy or fungal infected plant produce that I don't want to put in my compost bin, but I don't know how to drive with a trailer, so I have to wait till my dad comes down at Christmas, and then we will do a run with whatever I can't fit in the weekly garden bin pickup. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this clean out. It's been absolutely massive, and hopefully you guys have an amazing holiday period. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.